This is how you learn real English, through real emotion. Keep watching and hit subscribe. My name is Elina. I'm 30 years old. And for a long time, I believed I was safe. When I met Marco, I thought I had found everything I had ever wanted. He was charming, polite, and incredibly attentive. The kind of man who remembered little details. Who held open doors. Who called just to say goodnight. After years of disappointing relationships, he felt like a promise, like finally, things would be different. My friends loved him. My parents were relieved. He's a good man, they'd say. You're lucky. And I believed them. In the beginning, it was beautiful. He sent flowers to my job. He cooked dinner. He told me I was special every single day. But looking back, I think the danger started with the way he looked at me. Like I was his. Like I didn't belong to myself anymore. At first, I didn't notice. Or maybe I didn't want to. He wanted to know where I was, all the time. He said it was because he worried. That he cared. When I wanted to go out with my friends, he said, I just don't trust them. You're safer with me. And I listened. I thought it was love. He never yelled. Not then. But sometimes, when I disagreed with him, his smile would vanish so quickly that I'd forget what I was saying. He didn't need to raise his voice. His silence was loud enough. We got married after a year. I thought I was walking into a dream. But I didn't realize that the door was closing behind me. And one day, I would stop feeling like a wife. And start feeling like a prisoner. It happened on a Tuesday night. We had just come back from dinner. I don't even remember what started it, something small. I made a comment about a waiter smiling at me. I was joking. But Marco didn't laugh. His eyes narrowed. His jaw tightened. And in that moment, the air around us changed. In the car, he was silent. I tried to lighten the mood. He didn't respond. When we got home, I reached for his hand. He pulled away. Then, in the kitchen, he slammed a glass on the counter. Not at me. Not near me. But hard enough to make me flinch. He looked at me, his voice low but sharp. Don't disrespect me in public again. I stood there, frozen. My heart was racing. My mouth was dry. I wanted to explain. I wanted to say it was a joke. But the words wouldn't come out. Because this wasn't about a joke. This was about power. And I knew it. He walked past me, like nothing had happened. Turned on the TV. Asked what I wanted for dinner. And just like that, the moment passed. But not for me. That night, I laid in bed beside him, staring at the ceiling. I kept replaying it in my head. The sound of the glass. The change in his voice. The look in his eyes. It was the first time I didn't recognize him. And it was the first time I felt afraid in my own home. Still, I didn't tell anyone. I didn't write it down. I didn't call a friend. Because part of me still wanted to believe it was just stress. Just a bad day. Just a moment. But deep down, something in me knew that wasn't the last time I'd feel that way. After that night, I started making excuses for him. He's under pressure. It's just work. Maybe I really did push too far. I replayed everything I said, everything I did, looking for the wrong move. As if the problem was me. That's what it's like, I think. When you love someone who scares you, you learn to question your own reality. Marco wasn't violent. Not then. But he was sharp. With his tone. With his looks. With his silence. When he was upset, he didn't need to yell. He could spend 3 days without speaking to me, and I'd be the one apologizing. And when he forgave me, it felt like a gift I had to earn. Little by little, I stopped going out. I stopped calling my friends. I missed birthdays. Ignored messages. I told myself I was just tired. That marriage required sacrifices. But deep down, I knew. I wasn't tired, I was disappearing. He didn't tell me to cut people off. He just made it uncomfortable when I didn't. Why are you wasting time with them? They don't understand you like I do. You're different now. You're mine. That word, mine, used to sound romantic. Now, it felt like a cage. I stopped wearing certain clothes. I changed the way I spoke. I laughed less. I watched him constantly, trying to guess his mood. My entire world became about keeping the peace, avoiding triggers, staying invisible when I needed to. And the worst part? Some days, he was perfect. Warm. Charming. The man I had fallen in love with. On those days, I would almost forget. Almost believe we were okay. But fear doesn't forget. It waits. And every time I heard his footsteps down the hall, my body would tense, just in case. It wasn't dramatic. It wasn't even loud. It was early morning. The sun hadn't risen yet. Marco was still asleep. I sat at the kitchen table with a bruise on my arm. Not deep. Not dark. But it was there. And I knew I wouldn't be able to explain this one away. The night before, we had argued. I don't remember what started it. I never did. But it ended with him grabbing my wrist harder than he realized. Or maybe exactly as hard as he meant to. He let go and walked away like nothing happened. And I stood there, staring at the place where his fingers had been, burning into my skin. I didn't cry. I didn't scream. I didn't even move for hours. But at 5:13 a.m., I packed a small bag. Just the essentials. I took my documents, my keys, my phone. I didn't leave a note. I didn't look back. I walked out the door, barefoot, afraid he would wake up and find me. My hands were shaking so badly I dropped my bag twice before getting into the car. I drove to a friend's house, someone I hadn't spoken to in months because he made sure I didn't. When she opened the door, I said just one sentence, "Please don't ask questions right now." She nodded and held me. I think I cried for an hour straight. Or maybe I just collapsed. I stayed there for a week. In silence. In shame. In relief. Because I had finally done it. I had left. And for the first time in a long time, I felt air in my lungs that didn't belong to him. People think once you leave, everything gets better. That you sleep better. Breathe easier. Smile more. And yes, some things do get better. The silence, for one. I didn't have to walk on eggshells. I didn't have to predict moods, cover bruises with sleeves, or apologize for things I didn't do. But freedom doesn't erase fear. It only gives it new shapes. The first week after I left, I jumped at every sound. I locked the doors 3 times. I checked my rearview mirror constantly. At night, I dreamed he was standing at the foot of my bed, just watching. And when I woke up, I had to remind myself, "You're not there anymore." But trauma doesn't care about location. It lives in your breath, your skin, your memory, and sometimes in your phone. He called once. Just once. No voicemail. I didn't answer. I didn't block him either. I wasn't ready. Maybe part of me still wanted to believe he'd say sorry. That he'd change. That he'd understand what he did. But he didn't call again. I started therapy. It was harder than I expected. Sitting across from someone kind and saying the words I had kept hidden for so long felt more terrifying than the things I had lived through. But I kept going. Because I had survived the hardest part already, leaving. Now, I just needed to survive being free. Some days I still check the locks twice. Still walk faster at night. Still avoid places where I think I might see him. But I'm learning. Slowly. That safety isn't just distance. It's reclaiming your voice. Your time. Your right to exist without fear. And I was just beginning. The last time I saw Marco was in a grocery store. It had been 8 months since I left. I was buying oranges. He walked in like a ghost from another life. He saw me. I saw him. For a second, everything in my body froze. But then, something happened. I didn't look down. I didn't hide. I stood taller. I met his eyes. And I kept walking. He didn't follow. He didn't speak. And I didn't look back. That night, I sat by the window with a cup of tea and realized something simple. I wasn't afraid anymore. Not because the fear disappeared, but because I had finally stopped letting it drive my life. I had taken back every part of myself he tried to own. My voice, my body, my future. Leaving him didn't just save me, it brought me back to myself. There are still scars. Some inside, some out. But now, I don't hide them. They remind me that I survived, that I escaped, that I healed. And if you're listening to this, and you're still living in silence, still doubting your worth, still waiting for the right moment to leave, I want you to know, it's not too late. You don't have to wait for the pain to get worse. You don't need permission to save yourself. And you are never as alone as you think. This is how you learn real English, through real emotion. Subscribe and keep growing with stories that speak to your strength.